Hello, beautiful debaters of YouTube. I haven't recorded this video yet, but I do suspect that it will be a longer video than normal. You can check the time at the bottom and see if I'm right about this. Future Joel knows, current Joel does not know. And this extra length, I don't know if it's because crypto is a more complex space than most of our topics, or if it's just because I've followed it for such a long time, and therefore have a more nuanced view of it than, say, weapon sales. I've never sold weapons to people, or of sanctions. I've never given sanctions to someone or received sanctions on myself so far. But I don't think this extra length and nuance in crypto will be a waste. In fact, I think there's two compelling reasons to go into greater depth on this topic than on most. The first, because I think that the nuances will help you to make more creative arguments. After all, much of debate truly does come down to how well you know the material, and how much ethos you can bring to bear on the round. Now, this extra background knowledge can help you more in some topics than in others. So if you were to learn the intricacies of sanctions, maybe that would help you win debate rounds, maybe not. But in this case, I think it will. But the second reason is more important for this extra length, and that is because crypto is likely to affect all of our lives. And an understanding of crypto, much like an understanding of something practical like education or health, can have real implications for your decision making, rather than just helping you to nail some arguments in a debate round, which is wonderful, of course, right? But thinking about your life more broadly can give you some incentive to really try to master the knowledge of this topic. As usual, though, I will provide timestamps for the various sections of the video in case you don't want this extra knowledge, but I highly recommend that unless you have spent some time in the crypto space, that you watch the entirety of this video to gain some understanding about the various aspects of crypto, and to a lesser degree of regulation. Once again, I'm not a government regulator, so my nuance about the regulation aspects will be less than crypto. It is now time for an ad. Before I begin, I would like to ask for your help. I've been running Debate Track for about a year and tried all manner of tactics to raise money, many of which you have seen, but which for the most part have been highly ineffectual. After all, the technical side of this project requires some upkeep to the tune of several thousands of dollars that I've spent so far. And despite my love and work for the community, it does entail 3 to 4 days of work each month, which so far have been entirely unpaid. Now, I will do everything in my power to prevent lectures and briefs from going behind a paywall. After all, even if I do this, doesn't necessarily mean it'll work to raise money. And I would much rather make zero money from thousands of watchers than a little bit of money from a few watchers. So instead, I'm asking for a donation of $3 a month, if you think it's worth it to you. Now, I imagine the days of preparation saved just may make it worth it. And I understand that most of you are students and you don't have jobs, but consider putting those persuasion skills to use on your parents or grandparents. $3 a month towards their kids' education is doubtless a small price. If half of you watching helped, I could continue this work until the day I died. Now, rest assured that I'll continue making these videos as long as I can. In any case, but without income, I'm not sure how much longer that can be. This is not a threat, but it is reality, and I hope that you can help me in continuing to make Debate Track alive. Now, here is your topic. Ad finished. Here's your topic for November and December of 2021. Resolved. Increased United States federal regulation of cryptocurrency transactions and or assets will produce more benefits than harms. Now, without even going into the topic, I think you can already tell that the wording is going to make this topic a bit complicated. And because of that, I want to share and emphasize a certain insight into this topic. It's worth paying attention to. For this topic, more than any other, you should know your position well and your arguments well. We have arguments on both pro and con that talk about crypto being good, and arguments on both sides about how it's bad. Remember that this topic asks if regulation is good or not. but regulation can mean many things. So it's not the case that pro is on crypto's side and con is against, nor is the opposite the case. Instead, you'll have to carefully choose your arguments and create your position, because many of the pro arguments we'll go over will actually contradict each other. And same with the con arguments. They don't all fit well together. And the same is true for the analytical rebuttals, which I provided this month. Not sure about next month. This month you have them. If you don't prepare, you will be eaten alive by those who do. This is once again true always, but much more so true when you have a messy topic like this. So for example, you might imagine that the crypto industry doesn't want to be regulated, while the government does want regulation. In this kind of mental scheme, pro is on the side of the government and con is on the side of the crypto industry. And this is true to some extent. However, in reality, most crypto enthusiasts and companies do want regulation, which will legitimize the industry, make it safer, and bring more outside money into the industry that will now be regulated and therefore probably more safe. In this scheme, con may be anti-crypto, potentially, because con doesn't want crypto to be legitimized. So con is anti-crypto. They don't want regulation because regulation will simply legitimize the industry. But there are arguments that don't fit into either of these schemes. For example, con can say ban crypto. We don't want to regulate it because the dangers of crypto are such that we shouldn't fold it into our legal and financial system. But then again, isn't banning it, from the pro's point of view, a form of regulation? Does that not count as regulation? Likewise, we might also say that there's too many regulations from different places, and they need to be simplified and streamlined so as to be more efficient and provide transparency and clear rules at the federal level. But does simplifying and streamlining regulations count as increasing or decreasing regulations? Is this a pro or a con argument? By the way, most of these points are in the evidence pack, so you can review these at your leisure. But I will, at the end of the day, have to leave it to you to untangle this potential mess. What is clear is that you will need to create solid cases on both sides and to prepare solid front lines for everything that your opponents may throw at your case. However, in general, regulation means approval by the government. So in general, pro is crypto good and con is crypto bad. In general. You can think of, for example, the analogy to marijuana. Marijuana is regulated by some states in the US. And rather than killing the weed industry, it's made the weed industry flourish. In Michigan, where I've lived for about 6 weeks now, there are almost 700 marijuana stores as of last April, probably many more than now. And from what I've heard, all of them are making an insane amount of money. Not that I would know, but the product offerings in each of these stores is enormous compared to what I've heard, the 1, 2, or 3 products that a dealer might have, and that you would have access to previously on the black market. So, in other words, regulation has brought life to the industry, along with benefits to consumers, a lot more variety, no risk of jail time, benefits to the industry, obviously, which can advertise, market, provide more offerings, along with benefits to the government, like less crime prosecutions and more tax money. So, in this case, regulation is very much unlike prohibition, which caused the black market to thrive and expand for the prohibition of alcohol, rather than killing access to or consumption of the product. Note that this analogy does not hold perfectly with crypto, as cryptocurrencies aren't easy to search for or sniff out or prosecute like drugs, which are much easier to, so crypto is more easy to create and to use than any kind of physical contraband. But I think this analogy is one good way to get started in thinking about the topic. So, let's get started on the lecture. And please stay tuned to the end for a couple of goodies. I don't say they're goodies to make you watch the whole video. I say they're goodies because they will be distracting if I bring them up now. The topic once more. Increased United States federal regulation of cryptocurrency transactions and/or assets will produce more benefits than harms. Let's start on crypto background, and then we'll go into the much shorter regulation background, followed by pro arguments and con arguments. So, cryptocurrencies are digital tokens meant to be used as money. That's a good general definition for cryptocurrencies. The industry started in 2008 with Bitcoin and now has a market cap of 2.12 trillion US dollars. So, an enormous growth for an industry. If crypto as a space were a company, it would be the second largest company in the world, right behind Apple. So, in other words, a huge industry, but still a new industry. We'll get started with blockchain, which is the technology that powers cryptocurrency. So, you can think of blockchain as analogous to SWIFT in some ways. SWIFT, of course, is the rails that the US dollar travels on. If you go to a bank and you want to make an international money transfer, you have to use SWIFT. I don't know the details of the technology, but these rails, quote unquote, is how the US government can control the US dollar around the world. And so this is why it makes it easy, for example, to sanction certain countries or certain people, to freeze bank accounts, to monitor transactions, for the IRS to know what every U.S. citizen around the world and everyone using U.S. dollars is doing. It's through this SWIFT. That's how U.S. dollar travels. Blockchain is how you can imagine cryptocurrency traveling. Blockchain is the tech that powers crypto, and it is inherent to all cryptocurrencies. So although there are different types of blockchain, they work slightly different ways. All cryptocurrencies will use some kind of a blockchain. Now, blockchains are distributed. This means that they are put on many different people's computers. And so there are many different people's computers that are used to power blockchain. Unlike SWIFT, which might be sort of centralized in the government, blockchain is decentralized, meaning that it can run without some kind of central node, without some kind of central authority, and therefore there is no real authority that governs blockchain. It's a very democratic technology where all of the nodes, all of the people with computers that are running it contribute some part to the running of the system, but there's no central person, a government or a president or an authority that controls it. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but that's how the technology itself, blockchain, works. A blockchain is essentially a ledger that tracks all the transactions. So pretend that I send money to you, you send money to me, we each send money to a bunch of different people. The blockchain will keep a record of all of these transactions that are happening. So all of the people you send money to, or all of the things you spend money on, these will all be recorded in the blockchain. And then every node who is running the blockchain will be able to confirm these things. So if I give you $2 using the blockchain, everyone knows I gave you $2. There's no way that I can pretend I didn't give you $2. I don't need to use a contract per se. In some ways, blockchain is the contract, and this record will be public. Now, I'm saying that products purchased or that people will know that I sent you money. It's not necessarily the case, because for most cryptocurrencies, all of this information is private. So it's not that the blockchain knows I sent money to you. It's that the blockchain knows that this number sent money to this number. And so that's what's being recorded, is essentially just numbers on the blockchain. So in this way, most cryptocurrency is seen as anonymous. Some of it is supposed to be more anonymous or private than others, but there is some element of anonymity and privacy that goes into crypto and into the crypto community. Now, there are different ways that these blocks are verified, that the system can make sure that all of the blocks are in fact legitimate, right? After all, we're dealing with money here. We need to make sure that I can't spend the same money 2 times, that I'm not stealing money from the system, that I'm not lying about the money that I've spent or received. And so we need some kind of a system, and there are different kinds of systems and different kind of currencies to confirm all of that. One of them is called proof of work. This is Bitcoin's method. There's also proof of storage, proof of ownership. I believe this is POC. I don't remember what the C stands for. But there are these different methods that essentially involve solving math problems, hence cryptographic, right? This is where the crypto and cryptocurrency comes from. Essentially means a secret currency, I suppose. And all of the nodes who are confirming all of these blocks get rewards, sometimes called gas fees or ore mining rewards. And this is an incentive for people to set up cryptocurrency mines, just on your computer or using some computers. And this is what keeps the system running, right? So if you are helping to maintain the Bitcoin blockchain, for example, you're going to get rewarded in Bitcoin, which is worth a lot of money. So that's why people do it. Now, there are different kinds of keys, which is essentially your bank account numbers that you will use. You don't need a name associated with your account. You don't need an address. You don't need a phone number. You may need these things in some context, for example, with some of the systems we'll talk about later. But just for blockchain to work, you just need public and private keys. Private keys is essentially your account number. If somebody knows your account number, they can take your account. And so the private key must remain very, very private. If someone were to steal this private key, they would have access to your wallet. However, there's a public key, which will be the address that people can send money to. So this you can share as widely as you'd like to. If someone has your public key, they can simply send money to you. And hey, that's not so bad. I'll actually, as one of the goodies at the end, try to have you set up one of these wallets, so especially just so you can see the difference between these, that public keys are in fact meant to be shared so people can send you money. Private keys are meant to just identify the owner or the holder of the wallet. So blockchain is used for cryptocurrency, but there are many other applications of blockchain. Take 30 seconds to look at these. There are, of course, links from the US government regulating cryptocurrency, regulating blockchain, to all of these other applications. And so this could be the first of many branches that this topic could potentially take, right? If you're going to link crypto to blockchain and then blockchain to other applications, these applications could all be their own universe inside a blade of grass, as it were. Blockchain is the technology that allows cryptocurrency to work. The history of cryptocurrencies really begins with Bitcoin, which is sort of the first generation, not even the first generation of cryptos, it is the first coin. So the white paper to describe this new technology, what it should look like, and the code underlying it, was first published in October 2008. There are 21 million Bitcoin ever produced, although the actual number in circulation is less than that for two reasons. The first reason, this is the smaller reason, is that more of it is being created to reward the miners as time goes on. And so there's some point where the coins will run out, and then you'll just pay a fee to the network every time you run a transaction, and this will pay the miners instead of these coins that are being mined. But for the time being, there are some number of coins that have not been mined yet, and because they're being paid to the people running the system as they continue to donate their computing power to run the system. The second big reason there are less than 21 million coins is that, remember those private keys I talked about, the owners of the wallets? If you lose those private keys, you lose the coins. And so if someone were to get into the crypto space in 2011 when it was worth $1, and they perhaps purchased 1,000 Bitcoins, which would make them have, $50 million at this point. Let's say they purchased 1,000 Bitcoins, put it on their private keys on a USB drive, and then went about their lives. if that USB drive is lost, those 1,000 coins are lost. And there are some millions, I believe, of coins that are simply lost to the universe, that people don't know they don't have access to their private keys for whatever reason. They've lost them, or they're encrypted, or so 21 million total ever produced. This is one big reason the value is so high, just because there's such a limited supply, but also because it's the first coin, right? Made by this guy or this girl or this they. We don't really know Satoshi Nakamoto, this anonymous person who made the coin. We don't really know anything about it. It's obviously this big mystery that you can find lots of debate about, but that's a guy, Satoshi Nakamoto. The price, as you've seen, has skyrocketed from $1 in 2011, right? When it was first made, obviously it was more or less worthless, right? If anyone would pay for it, perhaps the Bitcoin was, less than a cent if you were to value it, because no one really was interested in it, right? It hit an all-time high this year of $65,000. Right now, it just broke over 50,000 after some lag in the 40,000s recently. Tons of volatility. This, as you can see in the chart, it's not that it just goes up and up and up and up. It does go up and up and up, but also down, right? So a lot of volatility, both up and downs. Now, there's some bad things about Bitcoin. The number one thing about Bitcoin is that it uses a ton of energy. Remember this cryptographic technique we mentioned, proof of work. It involves solving very complex math problems, and doing so at a rate that in a way that rewards a higher rate. So the more computing power you can bring to bear, the more Bitcoins that you can mine. And so if you want to be successful at Bitcoin mining, you have to have an enormous amount of computing power to do it. There are specialized computers that just soak up an intense amount of energy. The Bitcoin network overall uses about as much energy as Indonesia. So this is one potential reason that China, who has had recently many issues with power supply, power outages, has made Bitcoin, has made actually all cryptocurrency illegal, but this is one compelling reason. It's the other reason, and also the reason that Elon Musk decided to use Bitcoin for Tesla payments at some point last year, and then rescinded his decision. He accepted the payments, Bitcoin price went up, rescinded the decision, Bitcoin prices went down, because it's obviously not eco-friendly to be using that much energy. In addition, Bitcoin also has very high transfer fees, and although there isn't an aspect of anonymity to Bitcoin, there have been some examples that show that using the correct forensic analysis, we can find out where a lot of the money is coming to and from. And we have seen with the very famous Colonial Pipeline attack that we'll talk about, I think, a little bit throughout the lecture, the authorities were able to recover the Bitcoin very quickly. Now, if it's totally anonymous and totally private, should the government really be able to just get those Bitcoins back? Obviously, they got them back from criminals, from hackers, and perhaps that's a good thing, but it doesn't bode well for the privacy aspect of Bitcoin, right? And so Bitcoin is clearly not the best cryptocurrency, but it was the first, it is the most popular, and therefore it's important to talk about. However, along with these DAs, because you'll find so much information about Bitcoin specifically, I think it's very likely that especially novice teams will be pulling out tons of Bitcoin-related DAs. Keep in mind that this topic is about cryptocurrency. Bitcoin is only one of thousands of different kinds of cryptocurrency. So although it's the most popular, the highest by market cap, you can dismiss really with all of the Bitcoin disadvantages in terms of actually debating. And I recommend this on both sides because cryptocurrency has evolved far past Bitcoin, despite how important Bitcoin still is. So many other coins. Let's go over some of these. Ethereum is second gen cryptocurrency. And the big innovation that Ethereum brings is smart contracts, meaning that you can program the currency itself. So these smart contracts can involve data from outside places, although they don't necessarily have to be, right? And so let's say that, I want to buy a house from you. I can pay in Ethereum, but that's only going to be paid out through the smart contract if a housing inspection gets done, right? And so a guy does a housing inspection, he clicks the button, says yes, everything looks good, and then you get your Ethereum. So we can have smart contracts. Now, of course, this does require human input, but you could connect it to other data sources, to, for example, some authoritative account of the weather or of stock market prices. So, when Tesla hits $1,000 a share, then you get that Ethereum, right? Or if the weather, if it rains in Chicago on Tuesday, then you get the Ethereum. Absurd examples, but you kind of get what I'm saying. Next, we're going to see a lot in this topic. There's a lot in the literature about stablecoins, and stablecoins are meant to be pegged to other currencies, usually the US dollar. So these are some of the big things: USDT Tether, USDC, BUSD, Binance, US dollar. These are all they're just equal to $1. The idea is that the people who issue them have US dollars in some kind of a vault or bank account. So each of the digital tokens that they issue is backed by a actual dollar. Now, how much does this actually happen? How much auditing goes on here? Obviously, it's different for different coins. And so there have been a lot of controversies about stablecoins, and there's a ton of talk about regulating these stablecoins because they're not the US dollar. And although they're pegged to the US dollar, people can sort of use them as an alternative to the US dollar, right? Which can take away some control of the government. It certainly takes away a lot of regulation. So we have stable coins. There will probably be some pro cases about stable coins just because there's so much literature about it. Then we have altcoins, and the definition of altcoins, it's essentially anything not Bitcoin or maybe not Bitcoin and Ethereum. Those are really the big two. The third largest cryptocurrency by market cap is Cardano. It's not different in any. I don't believe there's any huge innovations of Cardano over Ethereum, but there are a number of modifications that make it much more efficient, much more cheap, much more energy efficient. So it uses far less energy than even Ethereum, and Ethereum uses a ton less energy than Bitcoin. But also in the long run, there's just some innovations that will make Cardano as a usable cryptocurrency much better, right? Okay, so there's altcoins like Cardano. Once again, there's thousands total, right? And besides Cardano, there's a handful, probably 10 or 15, that are legitimate cryptocurrencies that do have some following, some kind of advantages over the other ones. So yeah, tons of things here. And then we have Libra, which is Facebook's cryptocurrency. Now, it's not cryptographic. It's not decentralized. It's not peer-to-peer. Obviously, you have this centralization in Facebook, and perhaps a little regulation over this, and so it doesn't really have the advantages that most other cryptocurrencies have. And technically, you would really not call it a cryptocurrency because it doesn't involve cryptography. But of course, it has the advantage of Facebook because everyone uses Facebook or Instagram. So if there's some way to spend money on there, that's pretty cool, right? And then we have shitcoins, and the definition of shitcoin is certainly up to debate, right? Some people might really be a huge fan of some cryptocurrency, and other people might call it a shitcoin. For some people, these are just anything other than Bitcoin and Ethereum, maybe other than Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Cardano. But a lot of these coins are meant to just make a bunch of money, right? And so, okay, so we have all of these coins and they're very well valued. You can make your own cryptocurrency. I could make a video, guide you all through it. It takes an hour probably. It's quite easy, right? Even without a ton of technical knowledge, it's quite easy to make a kind of cryptocurrency. And so you make the cryptocurrency, you hire a graphic designer, hire a web designer, you do a bunch of marketing, you do guerrilla marketing, you pay people on TikTok to blow up these coins. And so you can really increase the value of the currency that you just made very easily. And especially through initial coin offerings, which is, let's say, the grand product launch where you offer to the public, hey, now you can buy my coin, right? You can buy the Joel coin, you can buy the Debate Track coin, right? And so, obviously, y'all are huge fans of Debate Track, so you're going to buy the Debate Track coin. I'm going to pump it up. People it's going to be in high demand. The price will go up. And then what often happens, or happens often enough, is what's called a rug pull, where I own, 40% of debate track coin. I make the price go up to $2 a coin, and then I sell all of it. Right. This was the grand rug pull. You all, as loyal owners of this coin, lose all your money, right? As I'm selling 40% of the available coin, obviously the price is going to crash. I'm going to make a bunch of money. So it's really like a way that you can scam people, right? And this doesn't happen with every coin. It happens with some coins. But yeah, the big thing about shit coins is just it should be a coin that doesn't have any real utility. So we can see why Ethereum is better than Bitcoin. We can see why Cardano is better than Ethereum, and this goes true. This holds true with many coins. But with some coins, there's nothing really that we're adding in terms of value to the system or features to the coin, right? All right, next, CBTC, central bank digital currency. This was actually one of the potential debate topics for these couple months that was actually passed over, but it could still be involved in the debate somehow. For example, Pro could propose issuing a central bank digital currency as regulation, right? Or Con could say that we shouldn't regulate because instead we should have a CBDC. Once again, it's going to be a complex topic, but you should know what these are. These are just digital currencies that are issued by a central government. So the digital yuan, the digital RMB that China has launched, this is a central bank digital currency. And there's some talk of the US launching its own. The general consensus is bad idea. All of these cryptocurrencies are working really well. They're based in the U.S. The U.S. is able to kind of foster this innovation. You don't need to get the government involved in this kind of costly, expensive, cumbersome process that it will probably fail at anyway, right? But anyway, that's what it is, right? It's kind of the U.S. government version of Libra, where it is centralized, but there's a lot of good things about the currency also, right? For example, if you can program these central bank digital currencies, that allows the government to have an immense amount of control on the currency. For example, let's say that they pay out, stimulus payments, right? And they want people to spend the money, not save it. So they can say that this currency will degrade in value over 2 weeks. So the sooner you spend it, the better. And if you wait 2 weeks, the money will not exist anymore. This could be like one example of how they could control things. But of course, they would also be able to see like everything you spend money on, right? They would be able to audit people much better. Certainly deal with financial crimes, specifically tax evasion, a lot better. So it would give the government a lot of power over money. And then that power could be used, as we all know, for good and evil. So we have blockchain, the technology that powers cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, the first of all the cryptocurrencies, but then some discussion of all of the other types of cryptocurrencies that exist out there. Now, let's go to DeFi, decentralized finance. So decentralized finance is just banking done with this cryptocurrency. So we have fiat money like the US dollar or the ruble or the yen or whatever. Every currency every country has their kind of currency, and then alongside the currency you have banking. So you can keep it someplace. You can borrow on it as, let's say, an asset. Maybe it can you can get loans out against it. You can lend it to other people, and then we have all of these other more complicated financial instruments like future trading. Let's say I think the price of something will go up in the future. I can bet against that. Or margin trading. Maybe I've got $1,000 in the bank, but my bank lets me have 10 times margin, so I can sort of, play with $10,000 instead of just $1,000. So there's all of these things that go into banking alongside currency. DeFi, or decentralized finance, is just all of these banking tools applied to cryptocurrency. So the value of DeFi right now is $80+ billion and growing very rapidly. Compare that, though, to traditional banking, where the value is $8.6 trillion. This number varies very, very widely depending on what you're measuring exactly, so please do not quote this. But the point here is that The point here is just really about impacts, that if somebody is making some huge claim about how DeFi will ruin everything, well, okay, like the value of it is big. It's more money than I have, right? But not a whole lot compared to traditional fiat banking, right? Once again, fiat just means like normal money. Okay, so that's DeFi. I think you're likely to hear a lot of cases about DeFi, especially because there is tie-in from DeFi to the traditional banking industry, right? So if something bad were to happen to DeFi, it could spill over to other industries, very much like the Evergrande incident in China could spill over and like destroy the world's economy. DeFi could potentially do the same things. And by the way, DeFi runs for the most part on these stable coins we talked about before, these coins that are pegged to usually the US dollar. And that's why these stable coins matter so much, because they run DeFi, which matters because it's big and matters because it ties into traditional banking. NFTs are pretty cool. So they're typically an art, some kind of art pieces that are sold through cryptocurrency. You can see this CryptoPunk 7523 sold for $11.75 million. It's one of the most expensive NFTs that have been sold, but it's a huge and growing market. And in fact, I'll probably put a link to a friend's NFT project if he can get it up at some point. I'll put a link to it. You guys can poke around in there, see what you think. So essentially, okay, NFTs, they stand for non-fungible tokens. That just means they're unique. So fungible means one of them is the same as any other one. So if I have $2 bills, not a $2 bill, let's say I have three $1 bills. Okay, three $1 bills. They're all the same. I say, which one do you want? Like, you don't care. Maybe one's like more new than another one. Maybe one has some tape on it or something. But essentially, they're all $1. They all do the same thing, right? They're fungible. Any of them are the same as any other one. Same as Bitcoins, right? Like, you don't care about which number your Bitcoin is. Oh, this is the 50,000th minted Bitcoin. No, nobody knows that. No one cares about it. A Bitcoin is the same as any other Bitcoin. They're fungible. Non-fungible means they're not the same as each other, right? And so like people are non-fungible, right? I mean, depending on your use for them, I suppose, but like I am not the same as you. If we were to switch places in life, that wouldn't work at all. That would be that we're non-fungible. We're not the same. And so NFTs are sort of digital signatures to prove that, hey, this is a whole nother thing. This is something that's original. You can think of it very much like an artist's signature on something, right? So if you look at like any kind of priceless paint, like Mona Lisa, okay, is this priceless painting, right? And if you were to somehow own the Mona Lisa or try to sell it, that's hundreds of millions, billions of dollars, who knows? I mean, it's really priceless, right? That said, you can go online and order a print of Mona Lisa for $10 and you can have her hanging on your wall, right? And so what's the difference between that poster you get from postersrus.com and the original? Well, one is the original, right? That's the thing about it. And so NFTs just apply the same concept to digital art rather than, let's say, physical art. Okay, so there are applications of this to collectibles. Like I've got some advertisements for trading cards, like baseball cards, that they'll be like NFT versions, so you can have like digital baseball cards. But also to songs. So, an artist releases this song and they have like this one unique copy. This can help with, for example, getting royalties. They get somehow rewarded through a network for each song that's listened to. Tickets, really. I mean, there's just a lot of applications, potential applications to NFTs, but the biggest application right now is in art. And as you can see by at least it's one example, a lot of them are selling for, millions, tens of millions of dollars. So, big and interesting field. This could also be something that should be regulated, right? Once again, art is regulated, I think, to some degree. It can be used for tax evasion. It can be used for, money laundering. So, like, we should probably be regulating NFTs as well, right? All right, very lastly, exchanges. So exchanges are the intermediaries between you and fiat and crypto, right? And so let's say that I send you like 10 Cardano, right? Like, what are you going to do with that? Like, you probably don't, like, unless you know someone who will accept Cardano for like your lunch or tuition fees or whatever, unless you're like actually have someone you can pay Cardano to who has a wallet, which adoption isn't big enough that everyone has Cardano or uses wallets like that. So like the people you can pay will be quite limited. So most people will need to convert their Cardano to US dollars. Or let's say you want to buy something from my friend with the NFT project. You're going to need to convert your US dollars to Cardano in order to buy it, right? Because he doesn't accept US dollars, right? Accepts only Cardano. So these exchanges are on and off ramps to fiat currency, to US dollars. Some of them are based in the U.S. The ones based in the U.S. have to follow pretty stringent regulations already from the government, which is a very interesting point. And I think a big proof that regulation is adequate already, because if you are a U.S. citizen, many of these exchanges won't let you sign up for an account, right? It will be illegal for them to serve you, right? And so here's just some different names of some of the big exchanges: Binance, CoinDesk, Coinbase, CX, but there's many, right? And then we have decentralized exchanges, which are these exchanges but decentralized. So Binance, CoinDesk, etc. These are companies, and their business is to provide sleek and efficient and fast services to their users, right? They will be on and off ramps to fiat currency, but also most of them will offer some kind of these other options we talked about with DeFi, right? With decentralized finance. And so Binance, CoinDesk, etc., you can do some kind of like margin trading, some kind of futures trading. You can do exchanges between different coins. Decentralized exchanges will be more or less the same thing. Usually they won't be on and off ramps to fiat, but usually they'll let you trade between different cryptos. So, Bitcoin to Ethereum to Cardano to whatever you want, right? To Dogecoin. But they're decentralized. So they won't ask for your ID. They won't ask for your name. Maybe they'll just use an email to sign you up. It kind of depends on the exchange, but these exchanges won't be following government regulations so much because they're decentralized. Once again, they're not a company per se. It's kind of a piece of software that anyone can use. So similar to sort of like peer-to-peer, like torrenting. Like it's very hard for the government to crack down on torrents just because, like, who do you prosecute, you know? Not impossible. They've taken strides in it, but that's DEX. All right, so we have blockchain, the technology that powers cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, the first, other coins, many other things. DeFi, decentralized finance, which is all of the finance tools that Wall Street or banks have applied to cryptocurrency. NFTs, these non-fungible tokens, mostly art collectibles at this point, and then the exchanges that kind of facilitate everything here. So they use usually blockchain technology to trade Bitcoin plus other coins, offer some DeFi services, and also you're going to get most of your NFTs through exchanges. There are some NFT-like exchange marketplaces. All right, that's the background I have on crypto. And I hope I didn't lose any of you there. If you have any questions, throw it in the comments, or better yet, throw it in Google. I'm happy. I love answering all of your questions, but Google can answer everything just fine. Let's take a look at regulation. This is going to be a shorter section, and thank God, because it's boring. That's probably why it's shorter, right? I don't want to talk about this too much. The U.S. government has many regulations to regulate finances already. So they already collect taxes. In fact, they already collect taxes from crypto holders. They already protect customers. They already protect the integrity of the financial system, make sure there's not fraud and misuse going on, make sure there's at least less meltdowns than we've had in the past. And let me talk about some of the agencies that regulate finances now. I have just moved rooms and plugged in my computer, so the audio may sound a tad different now. Anyway, let's dive into regulation. So first we have the SEC, Securities Exchange Commission. They were formed after the 1929 stock market crash. I don't know why I have all these bullet points messed up, but in any case, their main thing is just to make sure the market doesn't crash again, and that's through regulating markets, protecting investors, enforcing laws. Okay, so what laws? I'm not really sure about all that. Once again, if I was a Wall Street banker, I could provide you probably much more insight on the SEC. But the big thing is they regulate securities. And securities are any kind of a money-based product, or a monetary product, that is an investment. So it's something that you buy and you hope it will go up in value in the future. And that's its purpose. So if you buy a stock, the purpose of the stock is you hope it will go up in value. It might go down in value, right? You might lose your money, but it's a money-based investment, right? A monetary investment, and that's what they regulate is securities. That's the SEC. The CFTC, Commodities Futures Trading Commission, they regulate commodities instead of securities. So commodities are things where the main purpose isn't to make money off of them, although you can make money. I mean, you can make money off of nearly anything, right? And so one of the most popular things, or one of the go-to examples anyway, is grains like corn, right? So let's say the price of corn is $1 per bushel now. I don't know if corn is measured in bushels, but anyway, $1 per bushel now, and you expect a corn blight and therefore a corn shortage to happen in the future. You can buy a futures so that you promise to buy 1 million bushels of corn in a year when you know that the prices will actually be $2, right? At least you suspect that they'll actually be $2. So you can trade in corn futures, which means you essentially promise to buy them at a certain price in the future, right? In the hopes that you'll make money, that the price you've agreed to buy them at will be lower than the market price, and so you can make money. Of course, this can go wrong, and you can also do an opposite kind of a bet, right? If you suspect that the price will actually go down. So that's what the CFTC regulates, is commodities. And so once again, yeah, the main purpose of corn is to eat. It's not to make money, right? Although you can make money off of it. They also regulate any kind of derivatives, which is not just like lending and borrowing money, but like all of the other things like these futures we just talked about, or swaps, options, other things like this. And so they deal with some kind of the more complicated financial instruments that are used. I don't believe most of them were developed when the SEC even came along, which is one reason it may have necessitated it. And so, okay, SEC regulates securities, which are monetary instruments, and CFTC regulates commodities, which are non-monetary instruments that can be used to make money. What is cryptocurrency? Is it a security or a commodity? This is part of the big debate in how we regulate. How should cryptocurrency be regulated? It's not exactly an argument for or against. It's just an argument about the details. But it is one that will come up in the literature, so it's good to know about. A lot of people are, how can we regulate it? We don't know who should regulate it. Well, this is, of course, very normal with any new industry, that it's not necessarily easy to categorize. And in fact, this could be a compelling reason for pro. If we, in fact, don't have a great agency in order to regulate cryptocurrency, hey, maybe we need a new agency, or at least we need these existing agencies to have better regulations and frameworks to deal with cryptocurrency, because we maybe don't have an easy way to categorize it now. We need some new things in order to help us to put these regulations in place. Internal Revenue Service, obviously IRS, they take your money. That's their job. And once again, they're already doing that for cryptocurrency. So famously in 2020, there was a checkbox that just asked people, like, have you ever had, traded, sent, received cryptocurrency in the last year, right? And that's just simple yes and no checkbox. That's it. Sort of the first stage for the IRS in getting into having people report more on their taxes. And once again, U.S.-based crypto exchanges will have rules where they'll report to the Internal Revenue Service. We'll look at some of these in just a second. But first, let's look at how other countries do things. We do have in the evidence sort of a whole page on how different countries do things. Honestly, most countries regulate things round about the same. So China has been on a long, slow burn to totally make all cryptos illegal, which they have now completed as of like a week ago or something. So China, everything's banned. And a big reason for that is because they'll have their own central bank digital currency. Obviously, it's an authoritarian, totalitarian, communist regime, so they're into centralize all power, centralize all authority as much as possible. And cryptocurrency is decentralized, and so that's not going to work at all for them. Australia, Singapore, UK, they treat crypto as property, but not as money. And so they're treated capital gains taxes. That means if you own Bitcoin and the price of Bitcoin goes up, then you have to pay tax on that margin, right? On however you made $30,000, you got to pay whatever 20% tax on it or whatever it is. In South Korea, they're not considered financial assets, so there's no capital gains taxes. Actually, the breakdown that we have in the evidence doesn't say that China has everything banned, so it may be a bit dated. Obviously, these rules change quite often. EU, it depends on the country. In India, it's very uncertain. There's been a law proposed earlier this year in the spring to ban all cryptocurrency, which obviously, if that law is even being talked about, that makes it quite iffy for the crypto traders in the country, crypto owners, people in the crypto space. So different countries do things different ways, but I would say mostly they recognize cryptocurrency as a valuable asset and tax it accordingly. That's that's what most countries do. What other kinds of regulation do we have? The biggest thing is KYC, know your customer, and this is I've encountered this as my friend has encountered this. Being a U.S. citizen, every time you sign up for a legal exchange, you'll need to give them, let's say, your social security number, your passport, take a picture, to prove you have the passport, give them, your address and everything so they can report everything to the IRS. This is sort of like a government rule just to make sure you're not like hiding money, right? CFT, which is combating financing of terrorism. I'm not sure exactly what tools they use for this, but in any case, there's some measures that they use to try to make sure crypto isn't flowing into the wrong hands. Margin trading can also be regulated. So margin trading, once again, is I have $1,000, but I can borrow at 10 times leverage, and so I can sort of invest 100,000 or 10,000 instead of just my $1,000, which can, if I'm using that much more money, I can have much bigger profits. Obviously, you can also have much bigger losses, right? So maybe if let's say I have a 100 times margin against my $1,000, and the price of Bitcoin moves by 1%. Okay, maybe I've just doubled my money. I think I have that math right. But what if the price goes down by 1%, then I've lost all my money, right? On the other hand, so margin trading can be risky, but and because it's risky, it's something that perhaps we should regulate, because you can see already the appeal to gamblers, right? To people who they don't have much money, they're kind of hard pressed, they're kind of into gambling. Like, damn, like margin trading sounds awesome. And then there's the standard reporting requirements. This is true across many countries, but I think specifically from the U.S. that like if you have $10,000 in a bank account anywhere, if you're sending $10,000 anywhere, like that gets reported to the IRS. Like any amount of money sitting anywhere or being transferred anywhere, being carried anywhere that's $10,000 or over, that gets reported to the IRS, and so that's quite standard. So these are some some things that we already have, but also some potential areas we could that countries regulate things already, I suppose. All right, so that's what I've got on regulation. We're at 53 minutes. This might not be crazy long, but definitely longer than usual. Okay, let's talk about pro arguments. Once again, pro is what? They are pro regulation of cryptocurrency. They're not necessarily pro cryptocurrency, although they often are. They're pro regulation of cryptocurrency, specifically transactions and or assets. Gross. Transactions and or assets. So that's what we're looking at. So the general thought you can have on the pro side: regulating crypto will legitimize and bring growth to the industry. Remember the marijuana example. It will help to stop the downsides of crypto, and there are many, namely financing of crimes, terrorism, dark web stuff, and of course tax evasion, but while reinforcing the benefits. The benefits are just some innovation to our monetary system. We make things faster, we make things cheaper, we make things more accessible, we internationalize money. So we have all these benefits, but without the downsides. That's what regulation can bring us. Now we have to start with status quo being bad. So tons of evidence about that. Right now we have too many regulatory bodies. That's Go Forth 18. Because we have all of these different regulatory bodies with their different rules. We have law. We don't have good overarching federal rules. So companies that want to work in the U.S., they have to go to each state and see each state's crypto laws, which are also different. And just having such a confusing hodgepodge of different rules and regulations hampers innovation. Right now, the Fed is actually antagonistic of crypto firms. So it's very difficult for crypto firms to operate because regulators don't want anything to do with them, right? Banks, for example, are traditional and they have very cozy relationships with regulators. But crypto firms, like, maybe the government will just sue them when they do something wrong, but they don't know what's wrong. They don't know what that is. They don't have clear rules and regulations from the Fed, so it's very difficult for them to operate. It's really hard and very makes things very risky. A lot of crypto firms, they just want to know what the rules are, and they don't know what the rules are, right? And so that's what the regulation needed is just the government needs to be very clear about what's allowed and what's not allowed. Quote, Araya 18, a cryptocurrency market that is effectively regulated will mean a decrease in the herd-driven volatility exciting the market. And so this is why we need specific regulation for cryptocurrency. We can't just apply, as we've been doing so far, apply the same regulations that we've applied to normal financial assets to cryptocurrency, right? Cryptocurrency is different, right? It needs new regulations. So here's one of the big disadvantages is there's a ton of scams, a ton of ways to lose your crypto, really, in the space. So we have initial coin offerings we talked about, right? Like I put a lot of marketing, a lot of like cool graphic design, advertising into my new coin that I just created, the Joel coin. And this is one way you can just raise a lot of money, right? Maybe your coin's legitimate, maybe not, right? Maybe it's for a legitimate company. Maybe it's not, because maybe I'm raising my coin to make a new flying car or something, right? Maybe it's not. Maybe the end product isn't about coins. The purpose, though, is to raise money so that I can make my flying car. But these ICOs, these initial coin offerings, they're not regulated, right? So if I have an initial like stock offering, an IPO, that is very regulated by the federal government. But why are these ICOs not regulated? These obviously need regulations. Because without regulations, there will be a lot of them that are simply scams. Not all of them are. They obviously have a great place for companies to be able to raise money in kind of an informal way. It's sort of like GoFundMe, like on steroids. But we need regulations so people won't lose their money, right? And then these rug pulls, right, where you raise a bunch of money for your ICO with your new coin. The price goes up, and then you sell all of your coins. Everyone who's holding them is left with nothing. Hacks, obviously, is obviously a big thing, right? We need regulations to make sure that crypto exchanges are preventing hacks from happening. There used to be a lot of hacks in crypto. There are still a lot, but they have gone down considerably as we've had most exchanges, from what I've been told, will have 3 different ways to authorize. So you want to make a transaction, you're going to need Google Authenticator plus your phone plus your email, plus your password or something. So this is one pretty decent way to deal with hacks, and these are improving, but we still need more regulations to deal with these. And then obviously just fake wallets and exchanges. So if you don't know the space and you just Google like wallet, right? You're probably if you're old and don't know about computers, or even if you're young and don't know about computers, it's a complicated space. There's just many opportunities for people to set up fake wallets. So transfer money to this address, and then you lose your money. And there's no, because these things are decentralized, there's no one you can really go to. Some of the crypto exchanges will be able to provide some customer service and some assistance, but there's only so much they can do, so it's easy to get scammed. So here's a screenshot of my friend's wallet, one of his wallets called Math Wallet. It is actually called Math Wallet, right? The coins in red are not things that he bought. And so he's got 20,000 of ABAC, 684,000 NFT coin, 950,000 Flux, etc. Because the public key is public, and the blockchain is public, anyone can see your public keys. So if you want to make a fake coin and send a million of it to like with this WSG coin, if you want to send a million of it to like all of the public wallets, you can totally do that, right? This will be on the Ethereum, which is remember, Ethereum is programmable, so there's tons of coins that are made on the Ethereum network. You can use Ethereum, which has its native coin, to make like other coins, and there are like tens of thousands of these other coins based on the Ethereum infrastructure. So just one example, like we got to regulate to prevent scams, but maybe more importantly to prevent crimes. Tax evasion, it seems pretty easy how like because there's this anonymous aspect to cryptocurrency and the prices have gone up so much, right? That like there's many people that have made like millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars with cryptocurrency, right? And it's all anonymous. Like the government doesn't need to know they have it, and that's technically tax evasion. So maybe we need some regulation to stop the tax evasion. Dark web and black market. So just buying, drugs or child porn or weapons or any of these things. Crypto, because it's anonymous, should make that easier for people. So we need regulation to make sure that these black market and dark web activities aren't happening. One of the biggest worries in sort of like the news that seems like people are, everyone has been scared of terrorism for a long time. I think we're like hopefully like done with that. I don't know. Can we we're scared of coronavirus now, I guess. We need something new and exciting to be scared of. But terrorism, yeah. So Dion Schwartz et al. 21 talks about terrorism funding in the future. Pretty good card, actually. And that we need regulation, not that terrorists are using crypto so much right now. There's not a lot of evidence that it's a huge problem, but as the market evolves and as better privacy coins come out, especially, they could become very appealing for terrorists, depending on how the technology evolves. So we need regulation to stop it before it happens. And then ransomware. So this is usually hackers will hack into like a company's computer networks, freeze everything, and then demand to be paid some amount of cryptocurrency in order to unfreeze things. So this happened with like a big like meat distribution. I don't remember what the name of it was, but a big meat distribution company in the US, they just like freeze the factories, and the company had to pay these hackers money in order to like unfreeze their factories so they could like keep like the chicken going or whatever. And then Colonial Pipeline, this is an oil pipeline, where it was the same thing, that they shut down the pipeline using some kind of hacks. Like you can do that, right? Like shut down infrastructure by hacking it, and then demand money in the form of cryptocurrency because it's less trackable, more anonymous in theory, right? Although, as we talked about before, the authorities in this case were able to get the money back from the Colonial Pipeline attack. And so do we really need more regulation if it's already better like that? We have a really great answer to card actually in the evidence for ransomware, where it's essentially a former prosecutor, and she's saying that authorities prefer Bitcoin payments. They're like easier to track. There's this thought that like if you pay in US dollars, like then the federal prosecutors can just go to the bank, and the bank will be like, oh yeah, here's like all the information you need, like you can arrest this guy. But that's apparently not how things actually work. So pretty good answer to this. But ransomware still a huge concern and could be a very decent pro argument. And then we go to financial sector like DeFi. Quote, Siripurapu says that cryptocurrencies do not fit neatly into the existing regulatory framework, creating ambiguity that lawmakers will likely have to resolve. And the issue here, Wu21 says that DeFi is risky. Once again, if there's an issue with unregulated DeFi, if the industry has some kind of collapse based on the coin, for example, because remember we said that like if you have a pegged coin, there should be US dollars behind it. But those US dollars don't have to be dollars. They can actually be assets. So maybe, Tether has a bunch of, stocks instead of US dollars, and these stocks are construction companies, and we have Evergrande collapse, and this spills into the rest of the construction industry or real estate industry. Tether collapses, DeFi collapses, everything collapses. So we have to regulate finance just because everything's tied together so much. This DeFi also needs more regulation. Stablecoin regulation, this ties nicely into DeFi. If you were to make a contention, you'd definitely use these two cards together, WU21, BWER21. And Mossad 21. Crypto crash could spread to other markets. So yeah, this will be a pretty stock argument, like pretty boring, but also like quite good. So like, if you feel like this topic is at all like confusing, like probably go with this. I would recommend that one there, right there. And then tax. So in Biden's infrastructure bill, I don't know if it's actually his. I really doubt he wrote that thing. But in the infrastructure bill that's being like debated right now in Congress, there was a infrastructure provision that would tax crypto in such a way as to raise $28 billion over the next 10 years to help pay for a lot of this infrastructure. And crypto is growing very rapidly. Like it's a huge industry right now, but it's probably on the up and up. Like literally all of you should get into it if you're not already. And if you stay tuned to the goodies, I'll help you get into it. So yeah, get into that. So anyway, it's like growing. It's huge. It'll be part of all of our lives. It will transform the world. The future has arrived. We're done with all of these like horrible legacy institutions, and that's a lot of money for the government. So that's super nice. This particular bill, I had a lot of debate. This particular line because it like essentially the people who wrote it, they didn't really understand crypto. So I believe it's been taken out. We do have a card and answer to this infrastructure bill argument where, you know, let's say some people say the infrastructure bill is really bad because it will kill crypto, and the answer to is like, actually this provision got taken out. The source is a tad sketchy. I don't actually know for sure what happened with that provision, but it doesn't really matter. In any case, the government can raise a lot of money from tax. It doesn't have to be like this particular like bill, but they can raise a lot of money for cryptocurrency, and that of course has like as many impacts as you can imagine, right? Whatever you can spend tax money on. And then U.S. leadership. So this is not a very well-developed argument in my own head, but I think it has a lot of potential that if the government regulates crypto, then it can make crypto bigger, and crypto will be big, it'll be international, and so like the U.S. government should definitely jump on that. Okay, I've got to leave for work in like a few minutes, so let's try to get the rest of this in. Pro strategies, we have a ton here. We can go for specific regulations, which I've already mentioned. Stable coins, we have whales, which are just huge owners of crypto. They should be regulated NFTs. So that would be, these could all be potential pro cases or potential pro contentions. It's these specific kind of regulations. U.S. leadership, which we just touched on. Once again, I don't have this developed a lot, but if you already, for example, have a lot of cards about like U.S. hegemony good, you know, you can link into here. And then we have, okay, so crypto is good. Like you can have all of the advantages of crypto, and like that's your case. And then we should regulate it because that will legitimize the industry and bring growth to the industry. So, yeah. So you can have this perspective, crypto is good, we should regulate it because that'll help it. If you think crypto is bad, you can also have regulation. So because the regulation will deal with all of these, with some of the disadvantages, right? With the crimes, with the scams, with the volatility, the issues of potential with DeFi. So these disadvantages can be dealt with through crypto. Obviously, like it doesn't have to be this cut and dry, crypto good, crypto bad, but I'm just saying like, you know, I'm just trying to illustrate here how not cut and dry this topic is, I suppose. Like definitely you can combine those two and say that we can have all the good things and none of the bad things with regulation. And then one potential alternative, like, you know, this might be like, you have to be careful about technicalities, of course, like, is this a counter plan or not? But we can say that a central bank digital currency from the US would be better. Most people say it wouldn't, at least most of the people that I read in my 15 minutes of reading about it. But you could certainly make a case for this, that a central bank digital currency would be better than crypto, And so we should, I don't know, regulate away crypto in favor of the CBDC, although it could be also for the con side. We shouldn't regulate and still have a CBDC. Just another way you can play with. But I think these specific regulations and the crypto good, crypto bad, that will be kind of the stock, some of the stock things that you'll see. As I said before, I think DeFi is going to be like the financial industry. That's going to be like the major stock argument. It's nice and good and simple, That's what you want out of an argument. Nice, good, simple. Okay, let's go to con. So con is against regulation. Not necessarily against crypto, although maybe against crypto, but con is against the regulation of cryptocurrency transactions and or assets. All right, so general way to think about con. The existing financial regulations can adequately deal with cryptocurrencies. In addition, further regulation would only exacerbate issues of crime. It wouldn't make it any better. If anything, the U.S. federal government should have less regulation, not more regulation. So, con can actually say decrease regulation. It'd be totally fine. Or simplify regulation. Once again, we touched on this right at the beginning. So simplify regulation. Does this mean less regulation? Maybe you can make that point. Con has a lot of ways that they can get tricky with this topic. I hate to beat this dead horse coin, but it's like, you're going to have debate rounds where like both sides agree that crypto's good or that both sides agree crypto's bad, right? And just like, you're just looking at the approach to it. So be prepared for that, like mix and mash in rounds. You're going to have to be on your toes. Let's start with status quo. It's fine. It's good. It's perfect. We're okay. We can apply existing regulation to cryptocurrency. We don't need new regulations. It's not really that special. This is just a fantastic card from Hank and Sekik. Hank and Sekik. Quote, in truth, cryptocurrency is already subject to the existing laws and regulations of finance. It would be an affront to the rule of law for regulators to behave otherwise. It is time for all involved to give up the pretense that crypto transactions require substantively new rules. This is one out of many excellent quotes in the card, and I do recommend that nearly every con case uses this. You can start with this, that status quo good, and then move on to any of your other things, right? But we can we can gather tax from crypto. We can make sure people are not irresponsible with crypto. We can stop scams with crypto. We have know your customer rules. Like, we're fine. We've got this. We have no real evidence that anything is amiss. Like, cryptocurrency, like Pro would like to pretend they're like, like dinosaur angel demons, like come down from like Valhalla or something, like some just like alien monster. Like, no, it's not like that. It's just, they're just digital money. Like, chill, guys, chill. We're okay. All right. So the first thing when you start to look at cryptocurrency, come immediately to mind as far as arguments, which is why I put it in here. The source is Sketch. The arguments are okay. Not great, but okay. So they're saying just like, don't regulate it because it's not going to work. Look, it's anonymous. How are you going to regulate it if it's anonymous, right? And it's decentralized. So let's say that you make it illegal, then who are you going to prosecute? Like, who are you going to charge? Who are you going to investigate? There's no one that you can do that with. It would be like regulating like email. Like, try to make email illegal, or try to make like, they have a quote in the card, in this card, I believe it's this DeChappelle 21 card, where they're like, the Fed may as well regulate the rising of the sun because it would have just as much impact. Crypto's decentralized. You can't make it illegal. Innovation. The most innovation in the crypto space is coming from Russia. They claim here, or they hint here, that's because they made it illegal. They made it illegal, so there's a ton of innovation to get around all that illegality, which tracks, although Russian people are just like masterminds of tech, so that could also be that. It also harms legal users. So this is, you can sort of make the alcohol prohibition analogy. Alcohol prohibition did not get rid of alcohol any more than prohibiting crypto will get rid of crypto. Now, this whole card is about banning it, which is not the same as regulation, right? Keep that in mind. So Khan runs this argument like, just sweep this away. This is not our topic. But you can say the same thing about regulation itself. Anyway, here's a quote. Countries with a more laid-back approach are the ones likely to benefit most from a Bitcoin-fueled financial revolution, even if it's still too early to tell what exactly that is going to look like. So the U.S. has done a fantastic job of fostering innovation and technology and growth and encouraging the creation of wealth and technology. And we should just, we should be totally on board with crypto, right? Don't regulate it. It'll just kill the industry. All right. Once again, not great, but it's maybe an obvious argument. All right. Talk about capital flight. So if we regulate it, it will go to other countries, right? The companies will go to other countries. Holders will go to other countries. El Salvador just made Bitcoin legal tender, which I don't think is going to work out for them, but it is an interesting idea, right? That all of the people who, let's say, have Bitcoin and who don't have an easy on-off ramp for it can just literally move to El Salvador and like spend all their Bitcoin there. So yeah, the capital flight will go to other countries. And this has happened before. So Binance, one of the huge exchanges, started in China. China was very unfriendly to them, so they moved to Japan, right? This is like one of, I believe, like the first or second largest crypto exchange. Huge company, Japan's now. FTX went from Hong Kong to the Bahamas. The Bahamas, it's not like they don't have any rules. They just have they have a very good framework for cryptocurrency. So a lot of people have gone to the Bahamas because they know what the rules are, they know what to expect. And so, once again, this is kind of if you ban it, but the same thing applies for overly heavy regulation, is that you'll lose innovation, you'll lose industry, you'll lose tax. Furthermore, regulation helps big players who can comply with all of the complicated rules, but it will hurt small ones. One of the magical things about cryptocurrency is that it helps the little guy, right? It's something that everyone can get into. It doesn't have these walls, these barriers, these doors that keep out most people from, hedge funds or something like that. If you're just a normal player, you can't really invest in a hedge fund, right? And so you can instead go to cryptocurrency, right? And to DeFi especially, right? And so if you regulate it, that will help all of the big players, the whales, but especially the exchanges that just have the manpower and the money to maintain everything. But all of the smaller crypto projects won't have the time and the resources and the money in order to comply with all the regulations. So in this way, regulation kills innovation. That should have probably been a different bubble, not capital flight. But all right, next, overregulation. So this Theis21 card, it's a really, really good it's a very well-written essay on the dangers of regulation. I don't know about how good the source is per se, like this guy Theis. His credentials are a bit sketch. Not bad, but just they're not, he doesn't seem like an academic. But the essay itself is absolutely fantastic. A quote from Theis21, Congress wants to bring cryptocurrencies under full oversight and control. These new regulations introduce massive regulatory burdens on existing projects, ban and criminalize current normal activities, restrain innovation and free enterprise. So this really goes along with the fact that we already have enough regulation. We don't need more regulation. The regulation that Congress is thinking about, that they're proposing, is all way over the top. We don't want full oversight and control of cryptocurrencies. That will kill the industry. And so in the infrastructure bill, the Biden infrastructure bill, they had this word brokers, and they said that brokers need to report everything to the IRS. And so this was the biggest issue, that what is a broker? What does that mean? Because if a broker was all miners or, anyone sending any cryptocurrency, that would be sort of every time you spent $1, you'd have to fill out an IRS tax form. That's not possible to do. And this language was a little bit vague. Once again, I believe they have taken this out from what I can tell. Not super sure. But it is one example of some proposed legislation that could just kill the industry. It would just be impossible to comply with. So this Theis21, it tends towards the conspiratorial a little bit, but still fantastic essay about how much Congress wants to control and seize everything crypto-wise. So we don't want overregulation. It will kill the industry. And lastly, self-regulation. So the crypto industry is actually able to regulate itself. The industry is the closest to the problems, to the solutions, to the issues, to the users. And so the industry really should be regulating itself. And this goes especially when we talk about, for example, protecting consumers. Because look, if you have two exchanges and one of them gets hacked, like people are going to leave, right? The same way that like people left Robinhood en masse after Robinhood started regulating or limiting trades during like the Wall Street bets, thing. A lot of people left Robinhood because they're like, bro, you can't like stop me from trading stocks just because you don't like it. That's not cool. So if a crypto exchange did the same thing, or to put limits on their customers, or they got scammed there, or whatever, if there was any reason for the users not to trust them, the platform would lose users, they'd lose money, and they'd disappear. This is just the market. This is just normal market pressures. So all of these exchanges have huge incentives to treat their customers right, to make sure they don't get hacked, to make sure that they're a good and safe experience for everyone involved, right? And so in this way, the market can help to regulate the crypto industry, right? DeFi, in fact, already has set up self-regulation. Levny and Lipton, they talk about a DeFi platform that cut the margin trading, right? They had like 100 times margin. They cut that down to 10 times, not because they had to, but just because they wanted to make sure that their users were being responsible, right? And Commoners 21 talks about the increasing customer safety protections that I just touched on. So the industry is itself able to regulate itself well enough. So this is just my, after spending, I guess this is like 3.5 days thinking about this topic, it feels pro-biased. It really feels pro-biased to me. And I think the result of that is that for Khan, you will be forced to be more creative. You may really, because I think some of the Khan stock arguments just are not going to win in weighing against the pro stock arguments, right? And so while pro can be fairly comfortable with just like, for example, the finance argument, it seems to me that Khan is going to need to get a little bit more tricky. So this Khan strategy section, I'm just saying you may want to really think about like what direction you want to take your case in here, because I think it's not quite as clear cut. Because once again, like the government wants regulation, it's good for the government. The industry wants regulation, it's good for industry. Consumers mostly want regulation, it's good for consumers. Like, what does Khan have here, So, once again, we have some crypto good and crypto bad sort of points of views. These don't have to be cases per se, but they can be approaches, they can be combined, whatever. So crypto's good, so we shouldn't have regulation because Dice 21 regulation kills it, right? There's so many great things about crypto, and regulating it will just make it worse. Okay, or crypto's good, so we should simplify regulation. This is, I think, a very risky approach. Because simplifying, this is really a technicality, and it's really just going to be a definitions debate. But once again, you're not left with a whole lot as Khan, so you may have to go crazy here. So simplify regulation. We need less regulation, not more regulation. Simplify regulation, and this way, of course, you can probably undercut like a lot of pro arguments with, but just you're going to have like this like tedious definitions debate. And I think that it does sort of violate the spirit of the resolution by arguing this. But I put it there anyway. Crypto bad. So, crypto's bad. There's all these disadvantages, and regulation would legitimize it, so we shouldn't do it, right? That would be sort of the stock case. Crypto bad, don't regulate because that legitimizes it, right? The same thing if like marijuana was bad. Like we don't want to like legitimize it and make this industry about it. Now there's like weed stores everywhere and they have tons of products. So if marijuana is bad, like we just made a lot worse by regulating it. And then this is probably what I would go for, honestly, if I was Khan, ban crypto. So we have the CBDC alternative. If we ban crypto, then we can open the door for the CBDC. This gives the U.S. government tons of control, so you're going to have to make sure that you like frontline like U.S. government bad, taxing bad, war bad, rebuttals. But still, just all of the things that you can, for example, use Ethereum for, and making smart contracts, and just the immense, I haven't really thought through this, but there's just immense possibilities with programming the US dollar and giving that power to the government, right? You could potentially like solve all social ills with this, right? All of the things in theory we'd like to do to make America a better place, we could probably do with like programmable CBDC. And China has done this already. They've already banned crypto, so all of the reasons they've done it, like maybe the US should follow suit, right? This could also help the US to like compete with them. We also have a very good answer to China card that talks about like we don't want to out China. Pretty good card, but still I would probably go with this case personally. And then we have an alternative, which I have looked at very little, but it's a potential. We could say, don't regulate it federally, regulate it state by state instead. So state regulation is better than federal regulation. This one seems to be a good case. I just don't know anything about it, so I don't know what evidence is out there that can support this, but it seems okay to me anyway. All right, that was, 1 hour, 25 minutes. Welcome to the new room that I went in to plug in my computer. So let me give you your promised little things. It's actually just one little thing. I lied to you guys. I would like you to set up a crypto wallet so that you can be a crypto user. I'm a Cardano fanboy, so set up Cardano. I'll put links to 2 different wallets that you can use. There's both like very simple like browser-based wallets, Daedalus or Yori. I don't know how you pronounce it. Anyway, I use the latter, Yori. It doesn't really require any like knowledge of crypto or much technical know-how. It's quite simple. Then paste your public key, not the private key, which should be hard to access anyway, your public key into the comments of this video, and I will personally send you 1 Cardano, 1 ADA, worth currently like 220 or something. So yeah, and just in the off chance that this video blows up, which never happens, but just in the off chance, let's say like first 100 people or something. So I'm also going to link below a video by the ADA founder, which is a really, really, really good, just obviously it's like ADA focused, it's Cardano focused, but it's about crypto generally, sort of the history and everything. It's really, really fantastic. I recommend it, so I'll link that below. I'd also like to say thank you to Coin Market Cap for all the pictures. You'll notice there's like really great pictures. They have like an incredible team of artists who make all of these things. Is that the right company? Is it? It's not Coin Market Cap. That's not who it is. There's a company that made all of these. They're so good. I feel like I need to give them a shout out, but I think I just literally shouted out the wrong people. This is like the totally the wrong people. Let me try to find this. It is Cointelegraph. Cointelegraph had all of these images. Yeah, so thank you to Cointelegraph. They're an awesome team. They're like a big blog. I think they just write a bunch of things about them. So super nice. I'm gonna once again give you the video by the Cardano founder. Please set up a wallet and put your Cardano public key in the comments. I'll send you 1 ADA. You may be wondering why I'm number 1 asking for money, number 2 giving money away. Every time I offer to give out money for like contests or whatever, like no one signs up. So like I'm not at all worried about this because I've offered to give away like an incredible amount of money and like people don't like take me up on it. So it's 2021. We're not into free money anymore, I guess. Anyway, thanks for watching. Again, I would love your support by subscribing to this channel if you haven't already. If you have, I love you. If you haven't, I will love you as soon as you hit that button. Thank you so much. And if you find it in your heart, please support me on Patreon. This is a really fun project. I love the community, love making these things. I hope we can continue forever, but money is money, is it not? So I would love it if you helped out. All right, thanks. Have a beautiful day. Have fun with this topic. It's a good one. And I will see you next time. Bye-bye.